That is so perfect that I have on pink for this video. That was not intentional, but I'm so glad that it worked out that way. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. As you can tell by the title, today I'm going to be doing the Barbie book tag. I was tagged by Kiana over from Sexy Lady. She tagged me in this challenge, or in this tag, and I will try to link down the original creator of this tag, but we're going to jump right in. I have the questions over here pulled up on my laptop, and the first question says, Barbie's full name is Barbara Millicent Roberts. Also, what? When did Barbie have a full name? Has that always been her name? Find a book with a character called Barbara in it, or cheat like me and find an author. So for this, I picked Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the main character, Margaret, her mother's name is Barbara in the story. So really weird coincidence that that is the case, because I just read this book maybe like a month or two ago, and outside of this book I have not read any books with a character named Barbara in it, or any books that are written by anyone named Barbara. So it is perfect that I read this book, otherwise I would not have an answer for this question. The next question says, the first set of Barbie animated movies were based upon fairy tales or ballets. Suggest a book that would be great for Barbie. And for this, I chose, I'm gonna grab it, 100 Other Girls. I think that this would be such a fun book for Barbie. This book, people say that this is like The Devil Wears Prada. I've never seen that movie, so I can't say whether or not that is the case. But this book is basically about this woman who, her dream was to work for like this fashion like magazine, and she finally gets the job, and then she gets the job and her boss is basically horrible and awful and not at all what she was expecting, and her boss basically makes her life miserable to say the least. But it's also really funny. There's also like a lot of side characters. It's some of her co-workers. She also lives with her sister, so there's a bunch of like other side characters that make this story really fun. Just a good story, you know, with like powerful female characters just in general. Barbie tends to be more so geared towards children, obviously. I think we know this already. This is not a children's book, but I will say, like, for like if Barbie was gonna do like an adult adaptation or something, I think this would be a really fun book for Barbie to do. The next question says, when my daughter was a little girl, I used to buy her Barbies. As an adult, I have always fancied collecting collectible ones. Have you ever wanted to? And if not this doll, then what? So I personally had a really bad experience. I attempted to collect dolls when I was younger, much younger, probably like, if not elementary school, maybe like middle school. I tried to collect them. I wanted to collect like those, I used to call them China dolls. I think the reason why I called them that is because that was what Matilda called those kinds of dolls in the movie. I think that's where I got that from.
And a beautiful doll my mother gave me with a china face.
But it's basically like those porcelain dolls that are like kept in like a glass case or whatever. Try to get one of those. I had a very unfortunate, paranormal, terrifying experience with one, and so I got rid of it and I stopped collecting them. So I never really got into collecting dolls after that because of that traumatizing experience, but I collected stuffed animals for a long time. I had a very large collection of stuffed animals for a good long while, mainly because they all kind of had sentimental value. They were all connections to either like people or events that were special in my life. But the only other thing that I would say that I collect, and it's, collect is a strong word, when I remember to, I do, but I try to collect shot glasses anytime I travel and go to like a place that I've never been to before. When I go to like different countries and stuff, I try to get like a souvenir, and the souvenir that I usually get, if not a t-shirt, it usually is a shot glass. Next question says, Barbie means a lot to millions of people around the world for various reasons. Tell us about a book that is special to you and why. So my top 2 favorite books of the year, you guys already know. I've talked about them a million times. Yours truly and Ace. I'm not going to talk about those because you guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about them. So instead, I'm going to go with Malibu Rising. And the reason why Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I think is also probably within arm's reach of where I am. I just so happen to be sitting next to my bookshelf. My whole Taylor Jenkins Reid stack is right here. But I'll fix that later. But yeah, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is the book that I'm gonna go with for this. This book means a lot to me because this is actually the book that got me to start reading. Have I read books at some point in life before last year? Yes. So I read Catcher in the Rye in 9th grade. I read the first 50 Shades of Grey book in 2012. I read Gone Girl and 13 Reasons Why in 2014. And then I read the second 50 Shades of Grey in 2016. And that is it. Like, those are all of the books that I've read. And then you fast forward to last year, 2022, I picked up this book. And this book completely, like, literally changed my life. If it were not for me reading this book and falling in love with it, I would not be here today. I would not be here, but like, I wouldn't be here, like, making this video on the internet if it were not for this book. This is the book that got me to actually find reading enjoyable and entertaining and fun. And after I read this, right after this, read Evelyn Hugo, and that book was equally as entertaining. I could literally hold both of them up at the same time and say that both of these books are equally special. But the reason why this one gets, you know, a higher, I guess, tier is just because this is the one that I read first. Next question says, suggest a book that needs to be read in Barbieland that has a message about humanity. And again, I could go back to one of my top 2 books of the year, Ace. That is obviously one that I would definitely recommend. But to spare you all listening to me drone on about that book again, I'm going to go with probably either Hood Feminism, which I think, is that over here somewhere? It is. Wow, all the books that I'm recommending are all right here within arm's reach. Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. It gets into all the different ways that the mainstream feminist movement is overlooking some very vital aspects of the feminist movement. So I think this would be a really great book just for Barbie and her girlfriends and for Barbieland to just kind of like read, especially since Barbie typically tends to be geared towards women. I definitely think this would be a good book for that. But another book that I think will be interesting that I feel like anyone could read is, what is it called? A Psalm for the Wild Belt by Rebecca. Is it Rebecca Chambers or Becky Chambers? Okay, yeah, I was right. It's Becky Chambers, yeah. I thought that this book was really interesting. It's a very short book. I thought it was interesting, especially like when you get towards the end, it definitely gets into like the humanity, a lot of that, like very like existential, self-reflective, like, who am I, what is my value, you know, what is my purpose, what am I doing, like the reflection that happens towards the end. I really did enjoy that. I think that would be a good book to read in Barbieland that talks about humanity. The next and final question for this tag is book recommendations for Ken and Barbie. And for this, I had a hard time coming up with something. I didn't have anything like interesting for this, you know, anything that would be like, oh, this would be perfect. Like, I couldn't think of anything. So I decided to go with ACOTAR, which I cannot reach because ACOTAR is on the other side of my bookshelf. But in its place, I will pull up Silver Flame because I do have this next to me because I'm in the process of reading this. As you can see, my bookmark is in here. But yeah, I think this would be a fun series for Ken and Barbie to read. I personally have a lot of fun watching reaction videos. I've seen a lot of them on like Instagram and TikTok and like YouTube and stuff where girls would get like their boyfriends to react to this. They'll convince their boyfriends to read this series and then like record their reaction to it. And I think it's so funny watching guys react to this story. I think that's so funny. So like that's why I picked that for Barbie and Ken, because I feel like that could be something fun for them to do, for her to like read it, gush over it, fall in love with Reese, hate Tamlin, and then convince Ken to read it and then see what he thinks about it and like get his reaction on camera. I just think that would be so much fun. So yeah, that's why I picked this series. Also, this book has a lot of smutty scenes in it, which I was not expecting. I guess this kind of covers a lot because it's like kind of a drama. It's definitely a fantasy. It's a little bit of smut. It's a lot happening here. So I definitely think this would be a fun series overall for them to kind of like read together. And those are all the questions. That is the Barbie book tag. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you made it this far into the video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm going to tag a couple of people. Paco from Bad Witch Books, Leandra from Leandra the TBR0, Autumn from Nose in a Book, and Vanessa from Reading with Dr. B. Hopefully you guys have not already been tagged in this, or if you have, it's fine. And also, if you are not specifically tagged, but you made it this far into the video, feel free to consider yourself tagged. I would love to see your answers to these questions. Be sure to tag me if you do this video because I would love to see your answers. As always, my socials and links will be down below in the description. If you have not already and would like to, be sure to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.